welcome. Today I have a double-sided art card to show you, and I'm starting with just some standard cardstock, and then to one side I am gluing a piece of a Tim Holtz backdrop. So it's much larger, and I just took a section of it. So I'm just gluing it on, and I'm going to use this butterfly, and I'm going to stamp on with some Versamark. You can use, I'm going to be embossing with embossing powder, so you can use whatever you think will stay wet enough to endure that process. You can use vintage or distress inks, or some other kind of embossing stamp. So I put it on half of the butterfly, and I'm just stamping onto the card. And I have this gold embossing powder. It's not a embossing glaze, it's a true embossing powder, so it's not going to see through. And I'm using it because I want it to be gold, a metallic, and they don't have any embossing glazes that are metallic. Just taking a little brush, and if there are any that's sitting outside the butterfly, I'm just brushing it off. And putting the excess in the pot. I'm going to get my heat tool, and I'm actually using a embossing gun. It gets real hot, and I'm going to emboss it. It goes real fast, but not that fast. I cut out some of it, but now you can see how it is so shiny and pretty. And I'm going to use some vintage photo to go around the edges of the card. And I'm taking some Tim Holtz collage paper. It's like a tissue paper, real light tissue paper. And I think this one's called Botanical. I'm pretty sure it is. And I'm just wanting these strips of numbers. And so I'm just tracing what I want with my water pen, because I want to rip it, not cut it. If I have a ripped edge, you won't see it unless you look really hard. But if you have a cut edge, it's much more visible. So I'm just going to rip around this leaf because I don't want the leaf. Just want the numbers. So to put this tissue paper down, I'm going to use Collage Medium. And I put the Collage Medium down underneath. And then I put the Collage Medium on top, and it stays good. And there's a little bit of numbers on the scrap, so I'm just gonna try to get it also on there and line up that vertical line. But I'm just making sure that it's down good because it kind of looked like there was a little bubble, so I'm just adding some more collage medium and then putting the piece back down. And so here I'm just ripping off the section that won't add anything to my piece. And so I'm just applying only the good part. And you won't even be able to tell that that was two pieces. And before I close it up, I should have thought about what I was going to do next, because I'm going to use another piece of that tissue paper, and so I'll have to go through the whole process all over again. I'm going to trim off any excess that's over the edges. And this is where I'm analyzing my picture and decide I need some more of that collage medium. I'm gonna add some more distressed or some vintage photo to those edges I just used. So I'm getting that back out again. That's just how it goes with me, though. I kind of have an idea, but I don't have it completely thought out. I kind of just go with the flow, and that's what works for me. I like having part of an idea. So I just wanted some text or something to go at the very top. I don't want anything that's going to draw the eye away from the butterfly or from the ferns. So just some nice little text would be perfect. That's what's great about these collage papers, is it's got so much to choose from, and you can just take a little bit of this, a little bit of that one, and works out great. So I'm just going to put it at the top like it's a title. And get as much on as I can without covering up anything that's already on the card. And sometimes you get a little fold in it, and if you're gentle, you can work that out. now I can put that away. Trim excess off again. My hands get sticky using collage medium. And this side is done, and it's very simple, and but I love it. I love that side. And so now I'm gonna flip it and start the back side, and I'm using another baseboard from Tim Holtz, and this one's just a neutral with almost like a ledger book sheet. And so that's going to be the base of my project there. And I've kind of already laid this side out, so I didn't want the video to get too long. So I know exactly where this is going, have it all laid out, so I know how to glue it on. That's why you won't see me just kind of messing with it how I want it to be laid out, because I've already done that. The first piece down was a number strip from Tim Holtz. And this piece is a little number from a digital download. And this is, I stamped an old piece of paper, I think. Either that or I used some old paper or antique linen to kind of make it look old. But hey, trick, if you find an old book, and it's a chapter book, at the end of the chapters, there's usually a blank section of that book. I use that to stamp stamps on, so they look aged already, and they are aged. It's old paper, and you're just stamping on top of it. Just a little trick. So that 3 was also from a digital download. It's the same one as the number 1. And this piece here is a little frame. And what I do is I take some lightweight cardstock. I cover the whole thing with old paper books. And in this case, it's just it was an old book. And I used my glue stick. I don't have good luck with liquid glue and old book paper. It just doesn't work. I get too many bubbles. So I cover it all up, then I put it on my Cricut and cut out different frames or whatever it is I'm thinking I want. And so that's what this is. But you could definitely use any kind of frame, cover it with book paper, or whatever it is you decide to do. I love my Cricut. I love being able to use it for art. So that tag that I glued down, that I cut out from my Cricut, has a hole in it. And so that's why I didn't glue this down right away, because I want to take advantage of that hole that is already there. So I'm punching through the baseboard. So now I have a hole completely through the top piece. And I'm going to put a little eyelet in it. And hammer it down. I have a butterfly. I think this was from a sticker book. And I'm just going to glue that down to the top of the tag, kind of offset so it doesn't cover my hole. And then this piece is from Tim Holtz Botanical. I don't know if it's called Layers Botanical, but it's kind of the ones that have the glossy shine, which is normally in Layers, but I don't think it's quite as thick as some of the Layers ones. And I had glued that whole frame down, and I'd forgotten I wanted to kind of wedge this underneath it. So I used that little tool to help lift it back up. Now I'm going to glue my whole floral image down. And I'll have to glue that little section of the tag back down. Just holding it, making sure it gets a good contact. Okay, so now the little punch hole that's in the tag, I picked out a little tiny tag-like thing from, I think that was Field Notes, and it says Private Collection Specimen. And I have a really tiny hole punch. It's like really super tiny. So I punched a hole in it, and I added some vintage photo around the edges and the back, because it's not going to be attached, so it could flip and you could see the back. So I wanted the back not to be white. And I'm taking some black thread. I'm looping it through the hole in the tag, and the little tiny tag. And then I tie a knot to make sure it is secure down right to it. And then I'm going to loop those extra strings through the hole. I'm going to trim them a little first, I think. And remember, you're not going to see that back. That back's going to be glued to something else, so it doesn't matter. And just make sure it lays right. And then I just take the extra strings and I just tape them down. I'm going to have that whole back side glued, so it doesn't really matter what you use. And now I'm just going to add some vintage photo around the edges. And the last thing I thought of is there's like one little section there on that graph or on the ledger sheet that didn't have a number or anything in it. And I just thought, I think I'm going to put something in there. And so I have a sticker book that has these has big images, but they kind of filled some areas with tiny little insects. So this is a tiny little ladybug, and I'm just gonna have him set on that ledger sheet. I mean, probably won't ever even notice him, but he's just gonna set right there. And then I'm going to add a sentiment from the clippings sticker book. It's going to say good fortune. I'm going to add some distress ink and glue so it makes sure it stays down. And I found that that corner was up again on that tag. And now I'm going to glue it to the back side of the card. So it's the back side of the other piece. I'm going to glue it, and then I'm going to put some binder clips on it. And you kind of want to make sure, like for instance, this grommet or this eyelet, just make sure maybe one of those clips is real close to that so you're getting a good grip. And that is it. I got some final pictures coming up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. And you might see this card come up again because I'm making something with these double-sided cards that I've been making. So I'm looking forward to that. See you later.